If you're going to use a lot of quizzes in an online Canvas course, then I would strongly recommend that you take the time to learn the program Respondus, which is provided to you for free by USF. If you're not going to use quizzes a lot, then I would recommend skipping this video because it gets a little bit into the details of acquiring the software and running it. So the specific topics that we're going to talk about are the installation of Respondus, which has to be downloaded from the USF website, and you need to get a serial code that you will enter, which is something that I will demonstrate as part of the video. Then we'll talk about creating a quiz in Respondus and the different types of questions. I will also specifically talk about uploading the quiz to Canvas. And one of the most important features of Respondus, which is the ability to import questions from a Word document. I have used this to create absolutely massive question banks in a relatively short period of time. And so one of the things that I do in the course of that video is to create a small question bank for the Getting Started quiz that we have within the Canvas faculty course. Finally, we'll upload that complex quiz, and that will give you an idea of how Respondus can be used as a productivity tool for managing quizzes. So if you're going to be doing a lot of work with quizzes, Respondus is a really useful tool, and it's provided free if you're part of the USF community. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how to acquire your copy of Respondus. And probably the easiest thing to do is begin just by going to the USF web page and searching for Respondus, because it's buried with the Academy for Teaching and Learning Excellence, and it's sometimes a little hard to find, but if you do a search, you immediately get there. And now we go here, and it gives you instructions for downloading Respondus. So we'll follow these instructions, and the first thing it says is go to this site, and I think I'm going to open it in a new window so that I can always get back to the original, and it gives me some directories. Now it says click on the Respondus folder, so we'll click on the Respondus folder. We will then click on the Respondus for campus.exe link. And I think we're going to need the password as well, so I'm going to open that in a new tab. So we've got the password. Then we'll click the Respondus for Campus link. We will run it. It just asked me if it was okay to do that. Okay, so now it's asking me to do the installation, so I will come over here. I will accept the terms. I will accept the default location. I guess I can, I'm going to change this so that it goes to a OneDrive site, because I like to have access to these things. So we'll go to Documents, and then I will, guess I'll put it here in the faculty workshop. So I think I put that under Classes, Faculty Workshop. And this is for the documents, not for the actual software. Okay. And you can change that in the program, and then I will click the installation. Now it's going to ask me for a code and some information, so I will just wait for that. I'll pause until it asks me. I guess I don't have to. I guess I can install the equation editor. So I guess I'm not going to worry about that. I didn't have the equation editor in there, and I don't usually do equations. So now we'll go back to the instructions. Okay, so now I actually have Respondus on my computer. You can't see it, it's off the screen, but it created an icon on my desktop. So I will now run this by double clicking it, and then I'll bring it into the window. Institution, name. Now it says to do this exactly. I'm just going to move this off the screen for a second so I can get over to the window where I have my password information. And what I then do is I'll do a, so you can see this, I'm just going to select the university exactly the way it's written. And the reason for this exact is it probably uses what's known as a hashing algorithm. So if you don't get it exactly right, apparently I didn't search the whole thing. Okay, university, we'll hope that's right. Okay, and then the local support contact, I guess is Jill Parker. Okay, so we'll bring up Respondus again. I'll put in this password, and this password changes every so often. So, and I will then click on license. I will close. And it asks for the course management system, personality, and in this case we're looking for Canvas. And it doesn't seem to have Canvas. Let's just see what the instructions say. So it's telling me I might have to update the software if I don't see Instructure Canvas. Let's take a look at that again. I do not see Instructure, so I'll just click. Okay, I'll create a Blackboard personality, and then what I need to do is I'll need to run an update. So we come over here, check for update. So we will get update. It's asking me for permission. It's running an update of the software. Now it's telling me the update is complete. So now we'll bring up the canvas again. Then we'll take a look and see if we have the personality Instructure Canvas, and now we're basically ready to go. So using Respondus is a little bit like using Canvas, and we'll talk about importing files shortly, which is the big advantage of Respondus. But for now, I'll just go you through the process and create a one-question quiz. So I begin by creating a new Respondus file. We'll call this sample1 sample exam file. Okay. And then we'll just create a simple multiple type question. What type of quiz is this? Oh, I give it, okay. Well, I can use the same wording. Or what, oh, wrong. All right, we'll call this, what is the purpose of this quiz? we'll create an answer A. Important test of knowledge. Demonstrate respondus. Oh, my typing's terrible. Or serves no purpose. The correct answer we'll select as B. We'll give it 1 point. We can click on preview to see what the question will look like. That looks fine. What we can then do is add this to the add to the end of the list. Insert only works when you already have questions. So now we're good. And at this point, we now have a 1-question quiz. And so we can move on to actually uploading it. Before we begin the upload, however, a few things about Respondus. As you can see, you can put different types of questions here. Essay questions, true, false, matching questions, fill in the blanks, and so forth. And numerical answer questions as well, if you've got a course where you need numbers. And you can create all these questions in Canvas. In general, what I tend to do, as I mentioned earlier, is import them from a text file, because I can create questions very quickly doing lots of block copying. But you can also, copy questions and edit them within Respondus. Now, once you have a collection of questions, what you may want to do is create question groups. There's no particular need to create a question group for this quiz because there's only 1 question. But normally what a question group will do is allow you to create, say, a group of 2 questions and then specify that when the test is administered, you're going to randomly select 2 of the 10 questions for the quiz. That means that every time a student takes that test, they will get a certain number of different questions. And if you combine that with randomly ordering the responses in multiple choice tests, it becomes very, very hard in an in-class situation for students to cheat off each other. But in an online situation, it allows you to administer the same test over and over again until a student is actually able to pass it. Now, this does require creating a whole bunch of questions. And what I did in my programming course is I actually gave them 70% of the questions in my question bank because they still needed to look over the nearly 1,000 questions I gave them, and then they had to work on it. It wasn't 1,000 questions total. There were probably typically 200 questions in each of the 5 assignments. So we can go over, take a look at the settings, and this allows you to set a variety of things. And once you upload the quiz, you should also be able to reset these in Canvas, but we aren't going to worry about that for the time being. So now we're going to actually go about publishing the quiz in Canvas. So now what we're going to do is publish the course. The first thing you might want to do is preview your file, and as you can see, it's a pretty simple file. Next, we're going to publish to Canvas, and we go through the Publish wizard. The first thing you may want to do is I'm going to add a new server because that is something you'll have to do. I've already tested this once before. But when I add a new server, what's going to happen is it's going to ask me Brandon test server. It's going to ask me for my username, and this is on Canvas. My password, save my username and password, and then run connection test. I've already done this for another one, but I can create another copy of the server. It's no problem. So I run the connection test. Next. And it tells me that my browser is not supported, but it actually seemed to work. So, and now it's asking me to log in again. And it's telling me the connection was okay. Um, Next, I'll go over and choose a course. After I have got the new server, I come over here. Sample test 01. I don't have any question groups specified. I don't have any settings set up for the questions, so I'm just going to click on next. It's going to ask me what course, and it has downloaded the courses that I have selected. I'm going to put this in my test course since I don't want to screw up the actual online teaching workshop. I will go next, and then I'll wait for it to finish. Now, the last time I did this, it told me it was an unsuccessful publishing, but it nevertheless appeared on my server, so apparently it wasn't that unsuccessful. There are probably still a little bit of things that need to be done. Yes, it's telling me that the publish failed. It's telling me there's invalid file data. But if we actually go over to the server, which I will do now, if I go into quizzes, I'll just refresh this. We should now see sample test 01 has been loaded. We open this. We see a one-question quiz. If we do a preview, we see that we have this, and if I click on this and submit the quiz, you know, it seems to be correct. So as far as I know, I'll ignore that message. Obviously, there are a few quirks in the system that need to be worked out, but this seems to be working properly. So the only reason that I can see for using Respondus is if you're going to create large test banks and you want to create them as quickly as possible, because what Respondus allows you to do that you can't do by editing directly in Canvas is create a text import file. And I've included instructions for the import formats on our Canvas site. But what I'm just going to do is I'm going to go through and create a bunch of questions for the initial getting started phase of the faculty workshop, just so that you can see the process that I went through and how quickly you can get it done. And one of the things that I like to do when I'm designing stuff is to essentially create enough questions so that I can use random selection, which will allow people to take the test over and over again. This works very well in a self-paced environment. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into some of the various documents that I have provided, such as the online workshop manual and the other things, and I'm just going to actually create some questions by importing stuff. So for example here, at the very beginning of the manual, I specify the objectives. I can use that to create a whole bunch of questions. They aren't very deep questions, but nevertheless, they will serve our purposes. So what I will do is I will create the format that they recommend using is put a title, course objectives 1. You want to give each question a unique title. Then the format is here. What I can do is I can even copy a format from the formatting document. I will just do that and paste it in. Now I recommend pasting these things in, whoops, wrong, go to home, do a paste special text, just so I have the format correctly. So now what I will do is create my question 1. which is not a, which of the following is not a course objective. Then what I'll do is I'll come over to my syllabus. I will paste in a set of actual course objectives. Once again, when you want to paste, here I'm going to pin this thing up here so that I don't, when you paste, I recommend pasting the text and we'll get rid of any form. Oh, that's right, I already had that formatting. Okay, we'll get rid of that. We'll move it over. And then we'll call this A, B, C, E, and then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a D, develop a firm grasp of learning theory, and then I will put an asterisk here, and that will signify that that's the right answer. Now, there are all sorts of things you can do. You can give feedback on the different answers that you have. You can do all sorts of feedback on right answers, feedback on wrong answers. I notice here that I have a lot of space between these. I'm going to change the paragraph formatting so that I don't have any space, so I can kind of cluster the things together for the question. Oops. I hate that auto numbering. Okay, so then we can just basically do that. That looks good. And now what I can do is I can create a variety of questions of the same type, just by pasting and renumbering. So we'll call this one Course Objectives 2. Maybe we'll scramble things around a little bit here. Take out this. Maybe we'll create an answer A. Learn the right way to develop courses. Then we'll change this to B, C, D. That's okay, and then we'll asterisk that one. Maybe I'll create one more question. I like to create similar questions in groups of 3, because then when I have a large test bank, what I can do is I can actually give students a copy of, say, 70% of the questions in the test bank, but it's very, very hard for them to scan them when there are a lot of similar questions with different answers. So we'll do one more course objectives question. This will be course objectives 3. I'll renumber it as 3. And maybe, let's see, all right, we'll do one more like this. We'll move this one down to the bottom. We'll change it shortly. We'll make this A, B, C, D. And one of the things you can get Canvas to do is randomize the order in which the answers are presented. So in this particular case, you could have people sitting side by side taking the same test. They would get different orders of questions, different variations of questions. It would make it much, much harder for people to cheat. Now, of course, when you're dealing with an online class, people sitting side by side is not such a big issue. Another really nifty thing that you can do in a text document is import images. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a title, technology package 1, and then we'll say question 4. In the following diagram, what does the I5 stand for? And of course I had caps lock on, so we'll change this. And then I will do a paste of the diagram. I've already moved it to the clipboard. It came on another page. What I'd probably do here is I'd probably just put a new page so it was there together. And then I can give a series of answers, say A, the model number. Here, let me get rid of that auto, stop auto. B, the Intel processor. Type. C, the version of Windows 8. D, the amount of RAM it has. The hard drive capacity. Now, what I then do is, in this case, the correct answer is the Intel processor type. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a couple more variations of this particular question. So with this technology package 2, item 5, what does the venue 11i stand for? That is a model number, and we'll get rid of that one. Now we'll create another one. Here I guess we'll start a new page. Technology package 3, question 6. And what does the 4GB stand for? That is the amount of RAM it has. Now, having a bunch of questions like this that are all very similar doesn't really make sense if you're going to use every question. But if you're using a random block question type of quiz, then what happens is they'll only get like 1 or 2 of these questions. So, oh, I see I forgot to put a space there. Let's just clean that up. And you can edit these questions once you've imported them into Canvas or into Respondus, which is where it'll go first. But let's see, the following question, what does, let's see, we get another one. What does the Pro stand for? That's actually the version of Windows. And we'll come over here. Maybe one more question. Technology package 5, 8, and what does the 128 gigabyte stand for? And that is the hard drive capacity, but I'm going to change that to the SSD drive here because it has a digital hard drive. And so with that, now we have a series of questions that could be answered that have images embedded in them. Now let's try and add another question type. we'll do a fill-in-the-blank question. Now, the default is multiple choice, so if you're going to do a fill-in-the-blank, you have to use type F. And all of this is in the documentation. Title, where to buy your system, and then the question here, and I guess we're up to question 9, is where was it recommended that you buy your system? And then you can give variations of the answer. So we'll say A, computer store, B, USF, computer store, C, maybe USF, D, USF bookstore. That's not the right answer, but it's close enough. So you can basically put as many answers, and this way when it marks, if any of these answers come up, then it will be automatically graded. We'll create another variation of this question, and we'll just copy this down, and we'll call this one alternative purchase sites. Besides the computer store, where else might you consider buying your system? And I'm just going to give some, I think I mentioned some in the lectures. You might consider buying it from Amazon. You might consider buying it from Dell. You might consider buying it from Walmart. You might consider buying it from New Egg. And we might just also add Google, because you can do a Google search. I don't really care if people get this right, but at any rate, this gives you an example of another type of question that you could ask. We'll do a few more question types just for fun. A really good question type for the like technology would be the matching question type. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a matching question, and I'll start with my original. We'll go technology matching, and I think we're up to question 11 now. In the following diagram, match the capabilities, or match the descriptions to the product. And I have to identify this again as another type of question. So we have type, and the matching is MT. And then what we'll do is A, the model number, and then you put an equal sign, and then venue 11i. The processor type equals i5. Oops, I seem to have a little trouble with that. Okay, version of Windows 8 equals Pro. The amount of RAM it has equals 4 gigabytes. The SSD capacity equals 128 GB. We get rid of the asterisk here. And now what will happen is when that question is presented to the user, they'll get a list. They'll get the list on the left-hand side and the list on the right-hand side, and they'll have to match the two together. I mean, that's a pretty cool type of question. So the last type of question we'll talk about is the essay question. That's type E. Title, describe how you acquired your system. And then what we'll do is, well, actually that, we'll make that, it's a problem with trying to record and do this at the same time. So we'll go over here, move that down, and then system acquisition is the name of the question. And then what I can do is I can create a sample answer that identifies, that can be used in grading, because the essay questions will not be graded automatically. They have to be done manually. So I can say, for example, I went to the bookstore, actually the computer store, the USF computer store, and ordered the Dell model recommended. Then I downloaded Camtasia and Adobe from the computer store website. I ordered some accessories off of Amazon. Obviously, there's no right answer to this question, but we'll include it in the quiz. With this, I can then basically save the file, the Word file, and we'll call this one question bank, and I'll undoubtedly add some additional questions before I actually upload it, but this will at least give you an idea of how to go about adding questions. As I say, you can do a lot of block copying, and if you've got material that is readily translated into multiple choice questions in particular, you can get a lot of questions out there very quickly using this technique and then bring them into Respondus. And the precise format should be described in the documentation, which is where you would want to go if you were going to do this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the process of uploading a Respondus quiz that has been imported from a text file into Canvas. And this time our destination will be the actual teaching workshop. So we'll begin by creating a new Respondus file. We'll call this Getting Started Quiz. We'll call this Quiz Loaded from Test File. Click OK. So now we've got a new quiz. We'll come back over here. We'll import questions. We want it from a docx file. You can also import from like a spreadsheet if you want to follow the instructions for that format. I think I've got this here. Question bank. Okay. Create a new document called getting started. Oops. Started 01. I'll create a identifier for each question, just as a way of identifying it. You don't have to do this, but it sometimes makes it hard to keep things. Now I'll click on preview just to see if the questions appear to be importing properly, and the answer is yes, they do seem to. So I will then click on finish. I didn't get any warnings. The file has been saved. And so now I've got these different questions. So for example, if I preview this first question, which is a simple multiple choice question, we see the questions, we see the answers. If I come down here and preview this question, which we had an embedded image in, we can come over here and we see the image, we see the questions. Let's see, we did a matching question. That was kind of cool. We'll click the preview window. You can see all this. So it looks pretty good. So we're now ready to move on to the next stage. And of course, I can add additional questions here. I can insert them, but the import is a nice way of getting a bunch of things in. I come over here to the settings. I'll click on Shuffle Answers because there's no reason. I could, at this point, put in a time limit, and maybe I'll do that, just 10 minutes. All of these things will end up being in Canvas, and you can change them in Canvas. I'll allow multiple attempts. We'll keep the highest score limited to 2 attempts. I'm not going to put in the due dates and all that type of stuff. I'm not going to use a Respondus lockdown browser or anything like that. That's definitely overkill. Now I'm also going to create some question groups here because we had a lot of repetitive questions. So what we'll do here is we'll add a new set. The first question is going to be 1. The last question is going to be 3. We'll select one question from this because remember the first questions were all about course objectives, and we'll assign a 1-point question for this. Okay, so that will add a new set. Then we'll add another question set. The first question in this, we had a bunch of questions on the same diagram. We had 5 of them, so we'll go from question 4 to question 8. We'll have 1 question from that. We'll give a point value of 1 there. Then we can basically create, we don't actually need any other sets because what we'll do is we'll have them all fill in the blanks and the matching questions and the essay question. If so, that looks okay. So now what we'll do is we'll click OK. And now we're ready for the publication process. So we'll come over here and publish and preview. We'll do a quick preview just to make sure it looks okay. We'll go here. Let's see here. We'll just next. Always a good idea just to look through all your questions, make sure that they seem to be okay. You can see the different question types. Cool. So we'll close this. That looks good. Now we'll publish to Canvas. And by the way, you can also print your files. And sometimes printing the files is a good way of creating test banks. You can print it to Acrobat and then remove some questions. I've done that in the past. So what we'll do is we'll do the publish wizard. Now I've already set up a server for my courses. So what I will do is I will come through here. We'll call this Getting Started 01. That looks fine. Apply question groups. We'll come over here. We'll upload this one to the online teaching workshop course. With any luck, it won't show the publication error, but if it does, we'll check it out because it did the last couple of times. So I'm waiting for it to tell me that the publication is done. It's telling me it's not responding, but what all is going on there is, and it's once again telling me the publish failed, but we'll go over and take a look at the actual course and see if it did, because it did not appear to fail the last time. So we'll come over now and I'll get into the online teaching workshop. I'll click on quizzes, see if our quiz has arrived. It seems like the quiz has arrived. We'll take a look at it. And we can do a preview of it just to see what it looks like in Explorer, because I didn't click that quite hard enough. Okay, so we've got this. And then we can modify a bunch of other things as we need to. But it actually, you know, it looks fine. And so you can actually speed up the process of quiz creation a lot using Respondus. And if you're interested in Respondus, hopefully this optional video has proven useful.